the most consumed psychoactive drug on Earth, taken by billions every single morning, was discovered because a goat wouldn't go to sleep. No laboratory, no scientist, no wartime accident. A goat and the chain of theft, bans, smuggling, and obsession that followed would reshape every empire on the planet. Ethiopian highlands. Somewhere around the 9th century, a goat herder named Kaldi notices something deeply wrong with his flock. They're not sleeping, they're bouncing, alert, almost frantic, long after dark, when every other animal has settled. He traces it back to a specific tree, red berries. His goats are absolutely losing their minds over red berries. Kaldi does what any reasonable person would do. He eats the berries himself, heart rate up, mind sharp, the fatigue just gone. He's standing in a field in 9th century Ethiopia, and he has just discovered coffee because his goat had insomnia. Kaldi brings the berries to the nearest monastery. The monks are not impressed. They take one look at these berries, the ones making goats dance at midnight, and declare them the devil's work. They throw the whole batch into the fire. That should have been the end of the story. But then the smoke hit them. The burning beans release something extraordinary. The monks are standing around a fire that smells better than anything they've ever encountered. The same men who condemned these berries 60 seconds ago are now raking them out of the embers, dissolving the roasted beans in hot water. They drink, and for the first time, they stay awake through an entire night of prayer. The men who called it a devil's drink became the world's first addicts. Within decades, monasteries across Ethiopia are cultivating coffee deliberately, calling it a gift from God. They've done a complete 180, and here's what should surprise you. They don't share it, they hoard it. Ethiopian monks become essentially the world's first coffee cartel. For centuries, coffee is locked inside Ethiopian monasteries and the port city of Mocha in Yemen. Then the Ottoman Empire gets hold of it and built an entirely new kind of civilization around the bean. Coffee houses, Café Kane, explode across Constantinople. But these aren't just cafes. They're where men discuss politics, plot revolutions, and mock the Sultan openly. Sultan Murad IV in 1633 declares coffee a capital offense. His enforcement strategy is genuinely unhinged. He walks the streets of Constantinople in disguise, finds people drinking coffee, and personally beheads them. Thousands are executed over a morning beverage. The coffee houses close. But the underground market doesn't just survive, it gets bigger. The crackdown does one thing Murad didn't intend. It pushes coffee west. Traders and diplomats who've tasted it in Constantinople smuggle beans back to Europe. The Catholic Church calls it the devil's drink. Again, the reaction is almost identical to the monks in Ethiopia, and again, nobody listens. The bean keeps moving. Venice, 1600. Catholic priest petition Pope Clement VIII to ban coffee. A Muslim drink, satanic, dangerous, a threat to Christian society. The Pope makes a decision that will alter Western civilization. He decides to taste it before ruling. He loves it. He blesses it. Coffee is officially Christian now. Within 50 years, coffee houses detonate across London, Paris, and Vienna. London alone has over 300 by 1663. They're called penny universities. For 1 penny, regardless of class, title, or family name, you sit down, drink, and argue about philosophy, science, and economics with everyone in the room. The playing field is flat. The ideas fly. The Age of Enlightenment, historians argue, runs on caffeine. The coffee house is the 17th century's internet, where dangerous ideas spread faster than anyone in power could stop them, but the bean is still controlled entirely by the Arab world. Every coffee plant on Earth traces back to Yemen. Europe is paying a fortune for a supply chain it doesn't own. Someone has to steal the plant. The Yemeni port of Mocha enforces one of history's first intellectual property laws. Every coffee bean exported must be boiled or partially roasted, killed so it cannot germinate. No living plant leaves. For 200 years this holds. Then a Sufi monk named Baba Budan goes on a pilgrimage to Mecca, and on his way home straps 7 live coffee seeds directly to his stomach. He walks out of Mocha, past the guards, 7 seeds against his skin. He plants them in the hills of Karnataka, India, and they grow. Then the Dutch do it more aggressively. They smuggle a live plant out of Mocha in the 1690s, grow it in Amsterdam's botanical gardens, and mass farm it in Java. That's where the word Java comes from. The monopoly shatters, but the most consequential theft hasn't happened yet. It's 1720. A French naval officer named Gabriel Declieux acquires a single coffee cutting from the Royal Botanical Gardens in Paris. Through means historians still debate. Seduction is one theory. He sails to Martinique. What follows is one of the most unlikely voyages in agricultural history. The voyage is catastrophic. A storm nearly sinks the ship. A saboteur, possibly a Dutch spy, tries to destroy the plant. Then a near becalming drains the water supply to almost nothing. Declieux makes a decision. He shares his personal water ration with the seedling. For weeks. A man choosing a plant over his own thirst in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The plant survives. Declieux reaches Martinique and plants it. Within 50 years, Martinique has 19 million coffee trees. Within 100 years, the descendants of that single cutting account for 90% of all coffee in the Western Hemisphere. Today, Brazil produces 40% of the world's coffee. Almost all of it traceable back to a seedling one man chose to hydrate over himself. But here's what nobody talks about. The explosion of coffee across the Americas didn't run on traders or farmers in any romantic sense. It ran on enslaved people. A bean that originated in Africa, carried out by monks and smugglers, became the engine of one of the most brutal labor systems in human history, powered by people stolen from the same continent where it all began. Brazil's coffee boom is inseparable from the largest slave trade in the Western Hemisphere. The coffeehouses in London, where Enlightenment thinkers debated liberty and the rights of man, were often financed by coffee fortunes built on enslaved labor. The romantic story and the brutal story aren't separate histories, they're the same history. Both things are true at once. Here's the fact that should stop you cold. Every coffee plant on Earth descends from a handful of trees in one Ethiopian forest. Coffee has almost no natural genetic diversity outside its origin point. The entire global industry, worth $500 billion, rests on a genetic bottleneck so narrow that a single plant disease could theoretically collapse it. That disease is called coffee leaf rust. And it's already spreading. It's already wiped out crops across Central America and Southeast Asia. The thing that woke up civilization, that kept Ottoman scholars sharp, fueled the Enlightenment, that Declieux nearly died for, might be running out of time. Almost nobody drinking it knows that. And then think about the chain. A goat that wouldn't sleep. A monk who liked the smoke. An empire that beheaded coffee drinkers. A French officer who gave his water to a plant. And today, 2.25 billion cups consumed every single day. The question isn't how coffee conquered the world. The question is, did the world ever really have a choice? But let's go back to the Ethiopian highlands. The sun going down. A herd of goats bouncing around a tree in the dark. A confused young man watching them, reaching for a red berry. One sleepless goat, one curious herder, and somehow, eventually, you. Sitting wherever you are right now, holding whatever you're holding. Your morning wasn't always this ordinary. If this kind of story is what gets you out of bed in the morning, you know where the subscribe button is.